Hello and welcome to StratNews Global. I'm Surya Gangadharan. The pandemic doesn't appear to have touched Africa very harshly. In fact, we don't hear of very many cases over there. And this has, of course, raised questions whether Africa's regulatory environment, whether their monitoring environment is up to the mark or not. Well, sitting in Delhi, it's very hard to sit in judgment on what's happening in Africa. But I do have with me Ethiopia's ambassador, Dr. Tizita Yimam, to talk about not only the pandemic, but also bilateral relations with India. They had a recent visit of one of the Deputy Prime Minister of Ethiopia, who was in Delhi for discussions. And let's take this forward, Ambassador. First of all, thank you and welcome to this interview.
Thank you so much.
Ambassador, the pandemic. Has Ethiopia been affected by the pandemic? What are the number of cases you have? What is the number of deaths you have?
Basically, as the pandemic has affected the majority part of the world, Ethiopia is one of the countries that was affected. But when we specifically take Ethiopian situation, it's very difficult to say that it has affected as it was expected. Of course, there were casualties, more than 2,000, and also more than 1,000 people were affected. But the issue here is when the pandemic arrived in Ethiopia, the situation that it was treated is something different from other part of the world, because Ethiopia never goes down into lockdown. Rather, the government tried to bring internal way of coping the issue, especially mitigating the issue by organizing, by working more on in awareness creation and protection. So that really gave us an opportunity to organize the people, to organize users in coping such kind of pandemic situation. And that was also a mechanism to see how if people can cooperate, they can do well in managing different kind of issues.
So you never had a lockdown in all this time?
Yeah, we never had a lockdown. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And the total number of deaths you mentioned is about 2,000.
Yeah. It's not more
Those
than...
are very small numbers.
Yeah, compared to the...
So when you look at India is doing a lot of vaccine diplomacy, is there any interaction of this kind, any exchange of this kind between India and Ethiopia?
Of course, not only between India and Ethiopia, starting from the pandemic were heard, most African people were in talk with the Indian government in terms of how to cooperate on the matter. And Indian government used to send different kind of medication. And after, especially starting from February 2020, the vaccine, the COVAX, with the help of COVAX facility, many African countries received Indian produced vaccine. So far, close to half African countries have received the vaccine that was made in India. And the same happened in Ethiopia, and we have received close to 2.2 million vaccine, which was produced there in India with the COVAX facility.
Okay, so this is the Serum Institute produced vaccine?
Yeah, the one that is produced by Serum Institute, yeah.
Okay. And what about other medical help in terms of training, PPE, masks, etc.?
Yes.
Are these being supplied?
Yes, of course. It was supplied to many African countries, but specifically to Ethiopia, we received a different kind of medication. Last year, we received different kind of medication, yeah.
So you would say, as far as pandemic is concerned, it's under control?
Yeah, the government is trying all its best to control in almost many parts of the country using internal initiative and also cooperation, including India and other parts of the world, yeah.
So when we talk of pandemic and we look at the situation in Tigray, given the fact that there was a small conflict over there, has that posed a problem? Are you in control of the situation now?
Yes, this conflict was a matter of law enforcement mechanism by the government of Ethiopia. So the government has controlled the situation, but there are some sporadic incidents that's happening here and there. And now the focus of the government is more of working in humanitarian aspects and providing all the necessary humanitarian assistance. And it also allow many international organizations, especially that are working in humanitarian assistance, to come and provide all the necessary support to the affected population. And the government has also signed a different agreement with UN to work on this matter. And many personalities from World Food Organization and UN have also went to that specific area and managed to see the situation. Not only that, by the way, different ambassadors who are also residing in Ethiopia managed to go, including the US ambassador, managed to go and see what are the real situation in that area and how the government is really working in providing the humanitarian assistance for the people.
So has this issue figured in the UN? Is it being talked about on an Africa-wide platform?
Yes, it was discussed like as AOB, and they managed to see how the government is trying to control the situation. Especially they're focusing like regarding the provision of humanitarian assistance situation, yeah.
Ambassador, I'd like to look at this African Continental Free Trade Area that was signed, I think about, it's nearly 3 years now. Is the free trade area now fully in operation, or is it being slowly, or are the internal African controls first have to be loosened so that trade within Africa happens first?
Basically, this free trade agreement was launched in 2018, and many of African countries are signatory of the agreement. And the Secretariat is also established in Accra, in Ghana, last year in 2019. And it was expected to start operation in January 2021. Still, there are some agreement to be taken place. Of course, it was agreed the operation would start based on in phases. So still further, there are further phases to be negotiated. And there are different kind of things to be seen, like trade protocol and different kind of issues, how to go about it. But I can say that it is officially starting from 2021 January.
Mm-hmm. So how does that affect India's own trading prospects with Ethiopia or with the African continent? I do know that we have signed an agreement with Mauritius for entry of our goods into Mauritius and then the African continent duty-free. But as regards Africa, you were also telling me that there is a fairly strong Indian commercial trading presence.
Yeah.
So does that get affected by this agreement, or does it make it things easier?
Basically, the very essence of this agreement is to provide free trade, free movement of goods and services between African countries, and also to enhance trade cooperation between African countries. But it doesn't mean that it really blocks the entrance of foreign direct investment in African countries. Rather, it will open up, it will give an opportunity also for indirect investment to come and to operate in different parts of Africa. Basically, many countries, including India, has a very good base in African trade. They have different kind of local companies. So the operation of such kind of agreement would help to enhance the development of these local companies. They would get like an opportunity to promote themselves, to move themselves into different parts of African countries, and also to look for different opportunities. It could be human capital, it could be different kind of mechanism, incentives that is specifically found in different countries in Africa. So rather, you see, whenever such kind of agreements are implemented, the need to develop the economy, the need to go further would arise. So at that time, you see, the search for companies outside Africa would be a must. So rather than blocking, it would rather would open an opportunity for countries like India to enhance their already involvement in Africa. And the same would happen in Ethiopia. You know, in Ethiopia, there are more than 600 Indian companies that are already being operated, where they hired more than 75,000 Ethiopians in different kind of sectors. So the opening up of this free trade agreement would really give an opportunity for such kind of companies to easily go and work in different parts of African countries too.
I understand your Deputy Prime Minister was here last month. Could you tell us exactly what transpired in his discussions with Indian ministers?
You know, Ethiopia and India had a very long relationship. It's historic, and we had different kind of visit, high delegation visit, and this one I can say is one of among these. And the very reason of his coming was, they discussed the different kind of issues, bilateral issues with the Indian foreign minister. Especially, it focuses more on Ethiopian current political situation and Horn of Africa, and also how to strengthen the already existing relationship between Ethiopia and India, especially in terms of trade and investment and so on. Yeah.
Last question, Ambassador. Looking ahead at the India-Ethiopia connection, what are the areas you see where the relationship could expand in the future, going forward?
As I've said, Ethiopia and India has a very historical relationship. The people-to-people relationship is very strong. This is one of the things that we have to work on. And tourism is another sector that Ethiopia is currently working on. And as you know, India has a very big population, a very emerging economy, where the tourist population is also increasing. So we can also look towards that. And in addition to that, the trade and investment relationship between the two countries is very strong. But still, there are issues that we need also work on to develop it into the highest level. And that's also one of the things that we can work on to further level. Beyond that, you see, India is known as Ethiopia's supporter in terms of capacity building. Especially our diplomatic relationship has been started with capacity building cooperation. So that's also one of the things that we can work on, because that is the base for any other relation. So we can highly focus on such kind of issues.
Ambassador Yimam, pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Do keep watching us on our website, track us on Instagram, on YouTube and on Twitter. And do track us as we come forward with more interviews and more videos. And do follow this interview and let us have your comments and observations. I'm Surya Gangadharan and you are watching StratNews Global.